particular proposed expenditure cuts. Now, just to quickly give this to you. Operations under the State House by around 500 million. Security operations under the internal security will go down by around 2 billion. The reduction in the budget of various RDAs by 4.6 billion. We're looking at the security operations also being affected, and modernization under the Ministry of Defense being cut by about 7.75 billion. The foreign relations and diplomacy, 1.85 billion. Ongoing TVETs and TTI's projects going down by around 800 million. Remember, this is the proposed expenditure cuts from the National Treasury. Higher Education Loans Board will have to do away with about 3.2 billion shillings in as far as the cuts are concerned. Infrastructure for primary and secondary schools, 1.6 billion shillings. School feeding program will be affected by cutting out about 1.8 billion shillings if the Finance Act 2024 is amended to what, of course, Kenyans are pushing for. Also, the school feeding program, like I mentioned, will be affected. Kenya Revenue Authority, 4.7 billion. The Kenya Airways looking at 1 billion shillings. Civil Servants Insurance Scheme will be affected by the cuts by 1 billion shillings. The Equalization Fund arrears as well. And we're looking at the pending bills, 5 billion shillings from the proposed expenditure cuts from the Treasury. And the NGCDF is also making it to the list of about 50 areas that will be affected. Provision for medical interns, 3.7 billion. It goes all the way, and I'll keep bringing you up to speed. Ongoing roads projects, 15.1 billion shillings in as far as the expenditure cuts is concerned. We're looking at the National Treasury also saying that if the Finance Bill 2024 is relooked at and amended, these are the proposed expenditure cuts. The land resettlement, 1 billion shillings, might go down. ICT Authority with 6.7 billion shillings. Sports academies, 1.8 billion shillings. State Department for Energy, cancellation of the 50 million per constituency last mile connectivity and other interventions, 14.5 billion shillings. But looking at what will be happening with the agriculture sector and food security in as far as this proposed expenditure cuts by the Office of the National Treasury is concerned, we're looking at, of course, the livestock being affected. That is the deferment of the livestock restocking for 1 billion shillings. Fertilizer subsidy, that is farmers to pay more than 5 billion shillings might be cut out of this project. Arrears to farmers as well under the sugar reforms going down by 1.7 billion shillings. New KCC mop-up of milk, 1 billion shillings will suffer in that regard. The coffee cherry fund as well will be affected. The county aggregation industrial park will be affected. Cash transfer programs as well will be affected. Now, we want to look at the live pictures in Kisumu. Right now, these protests are happening in Kisumu. Earlier on, Bwire had engaged us, telling us there was a battalion of young men who had started off earlier in the morning, right from the Kondele. And now, I'm assuming this is the Kisumu town. All right, I am being corrected. This is Nakuru. Thank you, Director, for that. These are the live pictures from Nakuru. We have our reporter on that particular location who will be giving us updates on the same. But that is Nakuru, live in Nakuru. We're seeing, again, if you look at the demography, some older generation, but a number of this majority look like it is still Gen Z on the streets. Majorly, it's hashtag resist the Finance Bill 2024. The placards right there, vividly reading out what the agitation is all about. Why hike taxes is what you're seeing, and you can't even break down. That's what some of these youth are agitated. They're against the Finance Bill. The hashtag remains reject Finance Bill 2024. And what is now also coming to our attention is the way this has been organized. in major towns in the country. This started in Nairobi on Tuesday when this Finance Bill 2024 was being tabled before the House. But now we're seeing this going across board. Mombasa happened yesterday. And now we're seeing, like on your screen, in Kisumu and Nakuru, action is happening in Kisumu and Nakuru. The hashtag Reject Finance Bill is taking center stage. The devil wears kaunda. That is what you're seeing on that placard. Just raising the voice against the finance bill. We've also heard from the residents in Kakamega there with Alan Ochanda saying they know the number of representatives they have in the parliament. And in fact, they expect that all their members of parliament will speak against and vote against the Finance Bill 2024. In fact, just, owing to what we have earlier on spoken about, it is the Gen Z that are on the street. It's quite a twist now compared to what we have seen as the norm. Opposition leader Raila Odinga has always been, of course, on the forefront in as far as this particular protests are concerned. But in this particular one, as you can see, a lot of them are young people, not really politically affiliated to any parties this far. If you heard closely earlier on the remarks in the week, a number of them said, we are not UDA, neither are we ODM. We are just young people, young Kenyans who need to be, listened to. We're seeing some celebrities, of course, if you've seen one of those faces on camera, coming out also to speak to what the Gen Zs are pushing for. And a number of leaders are also just saying, well, kudos to what we're seeing as courage being displaced by this age group. Agitation throughout on social media, it is even stronger. We were speaking to Ray this morning on the trend, and they are coming out strongly on social media as well. Now, trending is the Anonymous that has also come in, one of the powerful groups online. They're, hackivists, they hack, and they said they need the government to heed to this call. Among other voices, I'm told, the African Union Commission speaking on this concern, saying there are a lot on what is happening in Kenya. If we get more details on the same, we will share with you. But you can see Sikupigi Magoti, that T-shirt on the screen. Gen Z just speaking onto this matter. Sikupigi Magoti Gianoti, meaning I will not beg you in regards to money. Ushuru wa Uchungu saying that the taxes are punitive and it is painful. Just translating what is written on the placards, and that is live from Nakuru. But essentially, we saw this protest commence officially in Nairobi. Arrests were made. We saw detentions. We've also had, Honorable Babu Owino speaking on, Spice FM this morning, saying this particular finance bill is null in as far as the constitutionality surrounding it is concerned. So there have been a number of voices, including those in the opposition and minority in parliament, just saying they will not take the Finance Bill 2024 in totality. All right, but there are other issues arising, including the budget cuts from the Office of the Treasury, saying a number of areas will be affected. But despite that, we are seeing these Kenyans now, the demography going even to a younger age, most of them below the age of 30, perhaps even 27, speaking for themselves. Most of them saying, especially from our televised interviews with Ken Mijungu yesterday, saying they're just beginning their lives, yet they're not being given that environment to build their own families, to even get jobs, or even own the car that is now, of course, being spoken on the motor tax. And what we're seeing here is basically what is going on right now in the country. Kenyans are opposed to the Finance Bill 2024, if not all, majority. The public participation happened last week. You would follow closely even with the survey reports, talking about 80% of Kenyans rejecting quite a number of taxes. We spoke to Samuel Ireri from the diaspora, speaking of the diaspora not being engaged in public participation, raising their concerns about money transfers, most of what has been considered by the committee and has been amended. We're looking at about 20 or so clauses that have been amended before the House to debate on it. However, we have analysts coming out and experts talking about their fear of the politics going on in as far as heeding entirely to what public participation is about. Will these amendments go all the way to the end, or are there other gimmicks surrounding the debate today? But pretty much heavy police presence, as you can see even on your screen right now. Number one, to ensure that there is law and order. And remember, this is enshrined in Article 31 or rather 37 of the Constitution, that there is freedom to assemble and picket, of course, without really having to be armed, etc. And what we're seeing there, you're seeing in Nakuru and Kisumu, the protesters on one side in Kisumu, and the police as well on location. But what we also realize is there was a bit of action yesterday in Mombasa and earlier on in Nairobi, where we saw tear gas canisters being lobbied, a number of arrests and confrontations in that regard. We spoke to Bwire this morning, and of course you're seeing Kisumu as well, where there's action. But our reporter Bwire reiterated that the residents of Kisumu and the protesters, for that matter, have emphasized that they will not be bringing into this protest any kind of violence. All right, that we do not expect any sort of violence. They're out there peacefully, just speaking out their minds and sharing their grievances, airing that out, that they are against the Finance Bill 2024. However, the protesters saying they also encourage the police to exercise resilience and tolerance towards them as they air their grievances against the Finance Bill 2024. As we are speaking right now and giving you those live coverages on air, the Parliament is already having their live proceedings. There are a number of things on the order paper, including what they touched on this morning, the resolution to sit again on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. 120 questions raised. The Speaker spoke to this matter as well. So any chance we get, we will also give you a view of the Parliament, the proceedings, and the debate ongoing. But if you're catching up with this highlights today, the Finance Bill 2024, according to the lawmakers or the legal voices, essentially did its part in following the procedure it should, from the draft, of course, from the executive all the way to public participation until this moment now, where the Gen Zs have taken center stage, first on social media and now blowing it up on the streets. But the emphasis right now is the reject the Finance Bill 2024 in totality. There were a number of taxes, just to bring you up to speed, that led us to where we are. The bread tax, the eco levy tax, there was the concern about the motor tax, circulation tax. Sanitary pads have been really brought out in this conversation, in this debate. Of course, there has been an argument on what is taxed is imported products vis-a-vis what's really available locally. But Kenyans are equally pushing further to understanding the tax on rubber, etc. And we've had different members of parliament come out to even speak to Kenyans on their live links on social media, giving their ideas and belief of what this finance bill would do for the country. Remember, we have a number of debts to pay, a number of loans to service. Just the other day, when the NADCO committee was sitting, there were concerns around IMF and the World Bank and what we owe. There's a new Eurobond as well that was taken in this country to make sure that we are at par with lending and repaying. And all these concerns now arising from different voices, economists, experts just speaking on this matter. It is quite disheartening, however, to understand that the economy of this country has been staggering following the COVID-19 pandemic, looking into also, the drought that hit the country terribly some time back. So pretty much, as I give way to the Kiswahili team, what we're seeing is the protests that are happening across the country. The debate in this contentious Finance Bill 2024 continues later today in Parliament. In fact, Parliament is sitting, and we'll bring you the live coverages throughout this. And we're also looking at protesters demanding, majority of them, they're demanding a full, total rejection of the Finance Bill 2024. Azimio is in the same voice, but there are members of Parliament still in this regard, encouraging Kenyans to allow space for debate, for consideration. The Treasury, again, I will reiterate, has given out a very key document on what is expected as expenditure cuts if this Finance Bill of 2024-2025 is not, of course, approved as is. And again, quickly, key areas. We're looking at the operations under the Office of the President being cut by around 451 million. Operations under the State House will go down by 500 million. Security, which is very integral, operations under the internal security, 2 billion. The university infrastructure project by 3.0 billion shillings. Higher education loans board will have to suffer a blow by 3.2 billion. Civil servants as well, insurance scheme is on it by 1 billion shillings. Now, a lot of things all the way to number 57, I would urge you to also interrogate further these particular implications of the amendment of the Finance Bill 2024. Remember, we have 302 billion shillings that were expected to boost the budget. So Kenyans are asking, we do not see these services, why taxes more? We have heard tax managers saying, go easy on the taxes. You could introduce them gradually. But if you followed closely, in 2023, there was another contentious debate around the Finance Bill 2023, and the experts said the same thing, said, would you go gradually on introducing the taxes? However, the housing levy, the SHIF, are still in the middle of the 2023 Finance Bill. So Kenyans this time have taken to the streets, but this time the difference is that the demography is younger people coming out to speak on this. Eldoret Live right now on the screen, that is in Eldoret. We might not have all that clear pictures, but what we're doing essentially today is to give you the clear pictures of what is happening on the ground. All right, on the ground, live in Eldoret, and we've seen action in Nakuru. We've seen action in Kisumu. We will also have our team in Nairobi in case of any action in Nairobi. Now, if this Finance Bill 2024 is amended, the proposed expenditure cuts by the Treasury showing me here is that the National Police Service Commission will also, be affected, 50 million shillings, the Auditor General's Office by 440 million. These are the cuts, proposed cuts by the Treasury's office. In case then we have to go the direction that Kenyans are pushing for, that we amend, this finance bill, and we're also seeing the judiciary recurrent budget at 2 billion shillings being affected, and just speaking but a few, Commission on Administrative Justice, 33 million shillings, the Office of the Control of Budgets, 37 million shillings, and the county equitable share, 5 billion. That's pretty much it. Action